This is DMGeezerjim, working with Campaign Cartographer 3, a very robust, um, very powerful software system. A little bit complex. It's a CAD program that has been reskinned for use in mapping, whether it's making world maps, city maps, dungeon maps, which is kind of where I use a lot of it is for dungeon and battle maps, shoot cosmology maps, 3D terrain, all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with this software. So a quick bit about myself. I bought the software a couple years ago. Didn't do much with it. Was trying to learn how to use the stuff and doing a very poor job of it. But got back into it between the Tome of Ultimate Mapping and several of the tutorial videos out there. So I just want to offer another view on how to use Campaign Cartographer. Just the super duper basics is what I'm calling this. A few of you guys may have picked it up recently on the Humble Bundle, and it was a heck of a deal. You're helping a good cause, and you're getting a great suite of software. So I figure it might be a good time just to kind of to throw a how do you work with this stuff, the aspects of the programs that I struggled with when I began. Um, the things that are important, in my opinion, to learn about as you start working at it. And you might be looking at this map in the background right now. This is something that has been done in Dungeon Designer 3 tool set. Looks like poo right now. You're like, that's kind of an ugly map. Well, and like I said, this is just kind of the last thing I was working on. Just a forested ruin. Doesn't look very good until you hit effects, and all of a sudden it cleans up very well. The all those funky little shapes suddenly blend in, and you get more of a blended terrain look. We messed with sheet effects on my last video. I'll probably touch on them again today because I actually have my stuff working the way it's supposed to be. So the purpose of this video is Campaign Cartographer 3. What do all of these dang buttons do? I'm not going to go into great depth other than just clicking through all of the little buttons. We might do a quick little demo here and there. Excuse me, Campaign Cartographer 3 has so many moving parts to it. Really easy to get them get lost in the mix. But at the same time, once you start playing with it, you realize a lot of these are just different options to do the same thing. So, what do all of these buttons do? Okay, cool. My screen is a little bit better. We'll start top left, work our way around clockwise. File, self-explanatory. This is where you'll open your new start a new map, or you'll open a for example, if I hit new, you see castles, cities, cosmata, all the modules that you have installed as part of your Campaign Cartographer 3 software suite will appear here under the new drawing wizard. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do a new one. That way, when I'm playing with buttons, we can see it. So I hit new. We're gonna go ahead and just go with the SS4 Schley. Nice symbol set to play with. 100 map. And so when you're building a map, in case you probably didn't get to see it last time, or if you're playing with it, first thing you do is you'll pick your module, then you'll pick your style. A style is a collection. Here, let's go ahead and go back a step. Drawing wizard picks your map base, the base program. Style picks a collection of symbols that have been tied together with effects to draw, to work together in a quick and simple thing. Everything is editable, everything is customizable. We'll play with that later. So we've picked the wizard, then we've picked the map style, and we're going to set up our map parameters by size. Hit next, and I'm just going to go with a nice plain try 3. We're not drawing, just so I have a background up to show you guys what do the buttons do. Okay, so file opens up a new map. File can also be used to open up all of your other maps. I would strongly recommend paying attention to your file architecture. Fancy way of saying make sure that you give yourself multiple folders to store stuff in. You'll spend a lot of time looking for stuff otherwise. I usually use like a work in progress folder, and then a few subfolders that I copy paste out of that back and forth. But your files are you do what you want to do with it. Save, save as, autosave. Make sure your autosave is clicked. I know initially it's kind of a pain in the butt. You're drawing and it asks you to save every 5 minutes. Do yourself a favor, make sure it's checked. CC2 to CC3 conversion doesn't do anything for me because I don't have CC2. The print wizard, print wizard. Yes, you can print directly out. It relatively robust as far as, well, it's your standard printing type of an overlay. When you go through it, you can make all kinds of adjustments to your scales, to your sizing, to all of that kind of stuff for your prints. I would recommend making sure when you set up a map to do the map measurements in such a way that it'll line up with the paper. We'll talk about that some other time. Drawing properties. This decides what your style is. Attached to drawing, current palette, map notes, drawing units, protected drawing. Drawing units tells you what it's set up in feet, inches per unit. Campaign Cartographer 3 does scale as you're drawing directly to the actual size. It is a CAD program, so it's going to measure down to inches and feet when you're doing it. Resize drawing area. See what this, oops, I did that again. My mouse hand is moving a little bit slow. So you can actually rescale your map if you need to, which is kind of a nice function. There's been a couple times I've been going through a map, drawing it, and going, man, this isn't quite big enough for what I wanted, or this is way too big. Now, obviously, if you're going to do a resize, it's going to do some scaling, some issues. Try to use that sooner rather than later into your drawing. And then done with that. So we're going to go to edit, undo the last thing you did, redo what you just undid, cut, copy, paste, Control Z, Y, X, C, V, just like your standard Windows commands. It makes it pretty easy there. Yes, you can cut, paste objects and sections from one section in your map over to the other section. You can copy an entire map over to a different map. And for example, you have a couple small buildings and it's trickier said than done, but it's capable of doing that. We might play with that in a future tutorial and you guys can watch me struggle with it. Erase, delete, move, scale, rotate, quick move, copy in drawing. Move, scale, rotate does, I'll get you guys to that in a second. Your objects, you can move your objects, scale your objects, bigger, smaller, rotate them around. Quick move, same thing. Copy in drawing, copy something from one place in the drawing to another. Change properties, you can change the bitmap textures, you can change the sheet, you can change the layer, you can change the color, change background color, exactly what it says. You can change the background color of your drawing. Reshape allows you to select an object. Use this command to do scale, rotate, mirror, explode, break an object apart, combine paths. You can combine two different lines into a single, smooth to straight, straight to smooth. Likewise, you can make a round object angular. You can make an angular object round with the transform. Text, lock text angle, find and replace, edit, and explode. If you use labels for your maps, if you use labels for your dungeons, etc., this is where your text's done. I'm not gonna lie, I do not know exactly what single entities does. I've never played with that command. I'm betting that it is an adjustment for your points. Everything that you're drawing is an object, whether it's a polygon point or what. Entity order. This is what you'll use. Say like you stack some bushes and then you stack some flowers and then you stack some trees and the bushes are on top of the trees and the flowers are on top of the bushes. You can use this to put it all back down and order the objects how you want. Trim, that's for when you get in there and you've got little tiny lines or edges of your objects you need to clean out. Okay, so what you might be seeing is the edit box, the edit menu does a lot of the same thing that your drawing tools do. So we'll check that out here in a second when we get to that. View, redraw, refreshes your map. Everything that you've added to it lately, it just redraws it in the order of its layers. Zoom, self-explanatory. You can zoom in and out particularly. I prefer to do it that way, but each person to their own. Windows, you can set up a new window, show hyperlinks. If you add hyperlinks to your map, it will show them. If you hide them, what's a hyperlink? We'll talk about it later. Cool little button that you can add, and you can go from map to map to map to map. Say like you have a 3-story dungeon. Now, caveat, it's useful for us within the module, but you can't necessarily program a macro into a PNG that you're exporting and have it still work. It's an internal function, but when you learn how to use Campaign Cartographer as a virtual tabletop, sharing the screen through whatever your social Discord, Facebook share, whatever, then all of a sudden that macro is really a cool thing because you've got six dungeons. You've got your central dungeon here. You've got a macro that you can put on each side. Whenever they hit that click, boom, you're onto your next map. A lot of setup, a lot of preparation to do that. But man, Campaign Cartographer makes an excellent virtual tabletop with some work. But I digress. This is a button show today. So tools, we're on view. View, window, color, display, speed, setting, toolbars. This brings up all controls for your toolbars around the menu. Autosave, yes. Symbols. Symbol manager, define symbol, add control point, vary color, define attribute, symbol options. Remember, when you add an object to Campaign Cartographer 3, it is considered a symbol, an object. This command menu will allow you to manipulate any of the single symbols that you're putting. Let's play with it a little bit just to make sure that I'm not full of yuck this morning. Oh yeah, that's right. We made our map really. Okay, just so you know, that's now a 30-foot wide chair. Why do you say? Because we're using a 200-foot map. Everything scales to the size that you put into the program parameters. I even screwed it up a little bit when I set my map at 100 and then I resized it to 200. I don't believe the software is going to rescale all of your symbols and all of your drawing tools to the 200 if you started at the 100, for example. But this cool thing, it's neither here nor there because at the end of the day, you can sit here and scale your symbols as big or small as you want. Okay. So just for fun, we're going to go ahead and get this symbol on, and we're going to play with some of the tool commands. Symbol command. Define symbol, click on it, hit do it. It tells you this symbol is bounding type none, box, colors, outline, point on the grid is centered, as in you can orient your symbol in different points on your background. This one happens to be centered. We're not going to do anything with this. I don't want to break a symbol catalog that's already been published. Just kind of playing with it. Add control point. You can actually set up a XY axis to use as a basis for your for everything to move off of. We're not messing with that though. Define attribute, make vary color. Let's see what make vary color does. Oh, it just adds. Oh, that's going to be the one that, if you might be noticing here, this symbol here will change with the color selection. So I think the symbol to make vary color goes with that. Ultimately, also there's a cool thing called the Tome of Ultimate Mapping that Pro Fantasy has put out. If you're a reader, if you're good at reading 2 pages and clicking in 2 pages, it's a wonderful asset. I know everyone learns a little bit differently. If you're into technical manuals, great book. Very, very, very thick, but very thorough and very detailed guide to help you learn all of the stuff that's in this program. So anyway, we've got symbols, symbol settings. This is going to pick out where my symbol catalogs are. Okay. So if I pick on it, it says to this. Remember earlier we picked a style. So attached to this style, the SS4 style, there's one package of furniture assets. Okay. Click on it and it's already brought up, so it's not a big deal. Scale symbols in map, sort symbols in map. You can scale them bigger, smaller, because like what I was doing with the control scroll. Oops, I didn't want to do that. We're going to go back to scale just to, we said we're playing with buttons, so we're going to play with buttons. Do it. Why is it not doing it? See, that's why I prefer just to simply go to move, select, do it, scale. So now we've seen two different ways just in the top menu to affect the same thing. You might be getting the impression that some of this stuff is redundant. It is. Not because of any flaw other than the fact that there's multiple ways to do things for you to find a comfortable way to work through your workflow. Some people are maybe your older programmers, older designers are used to using everything off of their menus and putting in command prompts. And guess what? There's an area down here to do that. I am nowhere near that level. I am a clicky, draggy, shift in, shift out, big, small type of guy. But anyway, so symbols, import PNG. This is kind of an important thing if you are doing, if you're looking for custom art to add it to your folder, or a custom art to add it to your drawing. There's a different way to do it, obviously. Purge symbols, clean out things you don't want. Rename and reorder is a little bit higher level. I think that'll take things by the layer and allow you to rename and reorder particular stuff. Sim defs to sheets. Have no idea what the sheets to sim defs. I think that's symbol definitions. Let's just see. What does this button do? Drawing may not contain any sheets or symbol references. Okay, so if let's just throw a couple sheets and symbol references on there just to see if it plays with us. See what this does. Okay, so now we have a sheet and a symbol reference. Let's see what sim defs to sheet does. Sheets, okay. So that one I don't know. I've never used it before. It was fun to click on and see that it's not necessary to keep working. Dungeon. Room. This will just go to a quick select for any of your dungeon drawing tools. Or floors, boom. If you just click on it, that's going to, like I said, that's bringing you access on the menu to everything that you're seeing on this left side, okay? Information, this is just going to give you a list count of all the objects, coordinate. If you need something specific location in coordinates of something on the map, you can use this to select it, as well as to start determining its bearing, its angular rotation, distance from one point to another, length alongside area. Information is there to help you do math if you need it, okay? Help. Tome of Ultimate Mapping, been recommended many, many, many times. Yes, I have it. Yes, I use it. Campaign card, it's a great, great, great asset. Oh, shut up. Stupid Adobe. And I am a subscriber to Adobe, but I actually prefer to open this stuff in Explorer because it's a little easier to work with. But Tome of Ultimate Mapping can be accessed straight out of your campaign cartographer. Have an issue, your quick start guide is there. Technical support, tip of the day. All of this stuff is did you know when placing symbols, move the mouse while holding down the control key to scale, which is what I was showing you earlier, making the objects bigger and smaller, or control and shift to rotate the current symbol. Two things on that. Well, we'll worry about that in a second. But cool that they have a couple little tips, right? So whenever you're in distress, if you have access to the assets, don't stress it out. You have a help menu full of everything that you could look for without being in the program. Obviously without YouTube and Twitch, but point being. So, remember symbol settings. When you change the symbol size during placement, the next symbol will have exactly the same scale. That's cool. So, yeah, it's going to lead me down some tangents. Okay, so we're done with what do buttons do. Along the top part are main Windows-specific menus. We've gone through those. So let's get to the actual buttons. And dun, 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 it's a lot of redundancy, a lot of extra options. This one here says new map, which does the same thing as our file that said new map, right? Okay. First one, new map. Second one, I'll bet you this is open. Yes. just like your file menu to open. You can open directly out of there. Next one we have is save, self-explanatory. This will save just like your file button up there. Print, access to the print wizard. This is all just shortcuts to the things that are in the top menu, but some people prefer it. That's the cool thing about CC3, man. I mean, they give you a bunch of different ways to do stuff. The hard thing is learning how to make it all work together. But it's, you know, it is what it is. Map notes. You want to do on new macro, on open macro, resize template. You can actually put notes in there. And a cool feature for this, if you're within the program, you can actually put mouse over macros. You mouse over something, a little pop-up appears. Again, that's one of those things that makes you wonder if it's like, you know, I mean, if you're using this map and no one has, and you produce a map for somebody that doesn't have CC3, they're getting about 20% of what the program is capable of. They're getting the finished product, the end map, the picture, as good as it can look. There's so much more that you can do within the program. It's just kind of an amazing thing. But anyway, your print wizard, we already went over that. Drawing properties. This is what we looked at up in the file edit, besides everything. You might remember that. Map notes. Okay, where are we going to go back to drawing properties here? Drawing units, protect drawing. You can freeze everything, lock it down. This tells you what your scale is, just like the map we looked, the thing we looked at earlier. Matter of fact, I'm not going to go too far into each of these buttons. We're just going to, if it does something that the file program, that the Windows file program buttons did, we're not going to worry about it. I'm just going to tell you it does the same thing. Link with file. You can link maps to maps. Link with map, or link with, you can, okay, I did that wrong. Link with file. There's this cool thing in Campaign Cartographer 3, the city designer, where you can draw a city map and then you can actually draw the floor plan for that particular building in its own map. And City Designer 3, certain modules are smart enough to draw the floor plan, the walls matching the actual appearance of the icon on the map. It's really cool. It's really robust. So I believe that's what that's for. Your people are walking around in the town and they want to go in this building. You click on this building, it takes you to hyperlink from that file to a different map. Whereas the next button that says map to map goes from map to map. It's not going from a different module into a different module's map. It's going within the same, style. I guess is a better way. You're going from city designer to dungeon designer using your file, and you're going from dungeon designer to dungeon designer using your map link, if that makes sense. Previous drawing, what was the last drawing I worked on? Next drawing, I don't know. I don't have a next drawing, but that's my previous drawing. Just goes back. If you didn't have a next, then it is what it is. View bookmarks. Do I have any stuff bookmarked? Whether it be maps, whether it be files, whether it be art assets, you can bookmark anything within your own CC3 library for quick access. Next bookmark, yes, find in files. This is if you are doing a heavy-duty search for something specific. Now, the search path will tell you this particular one is looking for FCW, which is a file, or excuse me, your map file. Your base origin file, your source file for your map is an FCW. Big old mathematical list of all the objects there. What are their colors? Where are they positioned? What are their size? Blah, blah, blah. The program turns it into the actual map. And then we're putting out JPEGs and JPGs and PNGs as finished assets. Okay. Where was that? Search files. Okay. So this next row of buttons here, you'll see some big old gaps because I'm not a rich dude. I'm a poor dude. But as you buy more of the Pro Fantasy software, Campaign Cartographer 3 will integrate each of the added modules, each of the added the add-ons into your interface very quickly, very smoothly. So I'm missing one, probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm missing a bunch of them. Not gonna lie. Someday I'll pick them up. But all these buttons do is allow you to go between Campaign Cartographer 3. Now let me show you something here. The map didn't change. The outside icons changed. It changed me to my world mapping. If I go to DD3, it gives me my dungeon mapping tools. I go to CD3, and this is just all on your quick draw stuff. It doesn't add it. It doesn't alter any of the file commands, any of that stuff. It's just within the module. Perspectives, if you're going 3D drawing. Symbol set 4 Schley, which is what we're using, specific dungeon designer. Castles and cathedrals, tombs and temples, and then token treasury leads me to battle map tokens. We'll worry about all that. So each of these buttons lead you to a different command prompt on the drawing wizard. This brings in the wizard for each of the modules that you may own. Okay. Until you get way farther into stuff, don't worry about trying to mix your modules, because you're not going to break anything. You can actually make some really cool maps mixing your styles up. It takes a lot of practice and knowledge. Am I on my effects? No, I'm not. Okay. Okay, so we've gone through this top row here. We'll continue kind of working along the next row here. So the next row down, you're going to see below your command prompts, below your module prompts and all of that. This is your symbol catalogs. This is the nuts and bolts of adding objects to your map, okay? Each of these will bring you to a predefined setting of objects and items. Oh, I'm in DD3. I need to be in SS4. That's fun. So yeah, okay, so I found myself in DD3. Oops, I hit SS4, hit the objects, and it pulls up whatever objects were assigned to caves, the cave sheet, the cave set on that symbol set. So not really a big deal. Pretty intuitive, actually. You can switch really quickly between the art styles with those buttons. So the first one brings up caves. What's that? Number one, it gives me a draw tool. If all I'm trying to draw is a cave, I've got the draw tool, and I've got the art, or the objects, the symbols, you know. So yeah, you're just gonna draw. You're going to select on what's this button do. I selected that button to draw a cave background. I selected this button to draw a rock. Okay. Not that, pretty simple. Next button brings you to containers and floors. Okay, big barrel. Next one takes you to debris and yucks. Okay, we're going to throw a pile of yuck. And you might be noticing again on my, if you're looking at my symbols along the left side, different colorations. That's one of the advantages of the SS4 Mike Schley symbol. They're hand-drawn outlines, also hand-colored, but one set was given without color, so you can actually alter the color of a given set of objects, a given set of symbols, excuse me, to give you a little bit more fluidity, give you a little bit more colorful customization, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's debris. Next one is temples and all of that. We're going to go ahead and just drop a loop. And then we go to furniture. We saw furniture earlier. We go to temple. Blah. I'm not going to draw one out of each. That's going to feel, But point being, you have an idea in your mind on what you need, what you're drawing. You're drawing a big build. You're drawing a room, and you need a couple beds. Well, it's pretty intuitive. Go look at furniture. You'll have your furniture set up. Okay, I need some rough looking stuff. Well, go to your caves or go to your debris. Caves or debris will have junk or will have rocks. Oh, I need some bushes and trees. Well, you go over to the vegetation preset and it's there. So that's that next set of row. Okay. All this stuff, and oh, yeah. All these do is we'll rewind a bit when we're talking about drawing styles. A drawing style is a collection of objects, a collection of effects, and a collection of symbols, objects, and effects that were added into a like package with predefined effects, predefined scaled to each other and everything else. So everything in SS4 is, symbol set 4 is located here. It's all ready to work with itself, with each other. If I click over here on all catalogs, this shows me everything that's involved in the SS4 as far as catalog settings for objects. If I hit advanced, all of a sudden you have, you can go through all kinds of it. We're not worried about that right now. Okay. So boom, we've discussed our Windows files. What do each of these do? We've discussed our command prompts that do the same thing as the Windows files do. We went through the object and the symbol and object selection menus. That shows you where to pick up each of your different things that you might want. Okay, so we're done with the top left half of our screen. Top right, they don't look like it, but these are buttons, and these are probably your important buttons. Sheet effects, drawing sheets and effects. This is where the magic happens. This is where the shading takes place, the transparency, the fade effects, the glow effects, the shadows, all of it pops up here, and it's a super, super robust thing. Okay, so when you, again, it doesn't look like it just looks like a window. But when you click on that window, it brings up your drawing sheets and effects, okay? You click that little key that says activate sheet, you hit apply. You can see how there's a little bit more of a glow effect on the cave and the debris, and the objects have a shadow added to them. There's a little bit more pop around each of the items. That's what sheet effects do. That's where CC3 is I don't want to say different, because a lot of mapping software. This is where you can make the most impacts on your own maps, learning how to add to custom sheets, how to blend the sheets together with the different effects and all that stuff. You can go from making okay maps to making really, really wow cool maps once you learn this. This is where the lighting is handled, directional shadows, all of that is handled in the sheets and effects. If you're curious, I do apologize. You can go watch my previous episode. I talk a lot about the sheets and effects. I go through a demo, but the first half did not have the windows popping up. So that was my first ever Twitch, YouTube instructional video, and you can probably tell with the technical aspects. My apologies. But the information is there. Play with it, play with it, play with it. Sheets and effects are super huge. Anyone can pick up this software, draw a road, put 3 trees on it, draw a little hut, put a building in it, and boom, we're done. There isn't a lot of instruction necessary on how to draw, but making it look like that's a workable map to wow, that's nice. It's all sheet effects. So anyway, that's what this one is for. Drawing sheets and effects, super, super important. Read about it, watch videos, learn about it. That's the difference between this software and everything else, in my opinion. Elemental and magic. Well, the difference between the effects and the customization. Customization, we're 8 episodes in. Select layer status. This is how you organize your stuff in Campaign Cartographer. I almost said Command and Conquer. That's funny. Campaign Cartographer is organized all of your everything that you draw, everything that you add to your map, including your background, is added to a layer. These layers are predetermined based on your drawing style, but they are not permanent and they are completely alterable. You can even add layers. I'm known to go in, add Fog of War. Just for demo, I'll add Fog of War packing. As my people cheat, I have to make maps that are 500 foot by 500 foot, so they don't try to read the map border as they play and figure out, don't go right, the map border's near there. Yeah, I've got a bunch of meta people, but it's okay. Campaign Cartographer helps me deal with meta players. So, but yeah, anyway, so you add your different layers. Now, whenever you draw a object, whenever you add a symbol, it is assigned to a layer. You can use this thing right here to freeze layers. You can freeze everything that's on the layer except for the layer that you have activated. That's important to know. There's always going to be a layer that's active that your cursor is attached to. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen to it, but just keep that in mind. You can't freeze every single layer at the same time. So we have freeze and we have thaw. Freeze means you can't affect it. You can't add it. You can't delete it. You can't move it. You can't do anything. It's frozen. It's, for all intent and purposes, it's a permanent part of the picture when freeze is down. I do want to do one pro tip that I forgot to do earlier. I'm going to try to remind myself. Grids. That was found in draw. Draw. I completely skipped over the draw thing. Path, polygon. That all lines up with this over here. I'll get to that in a second. But one important thing is grid. You want to add, do you draw with a grid or without? This is something I talked about a little bit last episode. completely preference based. Some people choose not to draw with a grid because they feel it impedes their natural flow, that the world isn't built on a grid, so why should we draw on a grid? And I agree with that, except for if you're doing a battle map, something that you are designing specifically for an adventure to take place on. I think it's very important to have a grid or have an idea of your spacing to make sure that you have enough squares to be in play. This is where you're going from drawing a terrain specific, topographical, accurate, beautiful hand drawn map without a grid because nature is nature. Cool. But this is for drawing a map that you and your friends are going to sit down and move your figures around and your tokens around. You want space. So that helps. The single best thing you can do is make sure that you have your grid marked. Okay. So if I drop that in, I'm going to ask later. Okay. One little thing. Your grid's going to default to whatever color you had selected. So I don't like that green. We're just going to delete the grid. Make sure to go back up to here. Some backgrounds actually pop better with a different color grid. That's up to y'all. Actually, I was kind of lazy on that. Well, no, I'm not trying to get too intricate on this. All right, this grid is down. What was I talking about earlier on the layers? We want to freeze them because if I go to move this this barrel, my grid is all selected as well. That's no bueno. So make sure when you are using your layers, if you are using a grid as part of your drawing, you must go in here and freeze your grid. Okay, just click that little right column to freeze it and apply. Oops, and I canceled it like a goober. Okay, now when I go select Mr. Barrel, and I actually got background, but the grid is all done. Grid's okay. You don't want to see your grid after you draw it. You go over to here and you hit hide, and the grid's not even there. Okay, so that's what your layers do. This is your organizational tool. This allows you overall control over what can and cannot be moved, what can and cannot be affected, what's been positioned on what layer. You can make floors disappear, walls disappear, all of that with this. Excuse me, you make them hidden, not disappear. You don't want to delete stuff. Okay. All right, so we've done floor, or excuse me, we've done sheets. I'm on the floor sheet. We've done layers. You might be, if you have any experience with paint programs, you're going, but that's backwards. It is kind of backwards. Okay, most your Coral Paint, 3D Paint, all those all they all shoot GIMP, I guess not GIMP. Blah blah blah. They all work on the other way. The layers are where you draw. The sheets are where you organize. It is what it is. It's just something you have to get used to. I'll turn off my sheet effects. Not even apply right now. Okay. You may have noticed a second ago when I drew a grid and it was green that I clicked on this little spot here. This is also a button. What does this button do? This button gives you options to change your colors. You can change your colors into any of this, and you can even blend further. So let's go to here, and I want to blend an additional 16-bit color off of that. It will do that. Okay, it's you always want to go kind of near the middle of your color band, and it will give you a little bit more of an alteration. Yeah, so I'm gonna cancel because I don't want my colors all messed up. But you see, as you start blending it, it changes it all up for you. Yes, it's been 7 minutes. So yes, you have a pretty robust custom color system in here. Most of the time, that's up to your creativity. If people can do it, I've seen a lot of really cool stuff done with just custom objects and custom colors. So, but yes, you have a color palette selection there. What's this? This says W0.0, okay? Lined width for new entries. This ties in with this set of commands here that we're going to get to in a minute. This this is the width of your line, okay? Just for a quick demo, let me change colors so we actually can see the line. Go with a bright green. So at a 0, that's what you get. Just a reference line. Okay. Let's change that to 0.5. And it gets a little wider. 0.5 being 6 inches, being half a foot. Remember, we're working in scale here. So if I change it to actual 5, and draw a line, you have a 5 foot wide line. Okay, so this is math. It's all math. How big, how wide do I want it? This will make sense here in a second. When we go into the custom drawing tools. Okay, so colors, line width. Next one is layers. We already talked about the layers. Line style. When you are drawing your own custom line, you can go through here and there's so many different custom lines you can draw. I'm going to go on broken just to demonstrate it. So you see little dashes. Turn this up to a 0.5 and do it again so you can actually see what I'm talking about. And you're like, oh man, remember it's all one object. Yeah, that's a good thing. So you see all little dashes. We changed our line to dashes. We increased our line width with that menu, and voila, and we changed the color to green. So what I was saying just a second ago, this looks like a bunch of little dashes. Campaign Cartographer, this is one object. One single solitary object, okay? Even though it looks, it is what it is. So we're going to delete that just because we're done with it in the demo. Fill style, solid. So if you're building objects, you can actually go in here and do all kinds of interesting fill styles into it. Hatchworks, bricks, all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you that here in a second because we're about to make it our way around the 1 o'clock part of the clockwise movement into that. So, brief review. Top of your left corner, your standard Windows menus. You can use these to do almost everything that you want. To select any of the tools that you want, select any of the objects you want, select any of the math you want. I mean, file to open, save, open a new, make a new map, save your old maps, bring up a different map. Edit, allowing you to make changes as far as sizes, scale, rotating, deletion, erasing, eraser, etc. View allows you to redraw, allows you to increase and decrease the size of your view, allows you to increase and decrease. You move your origin point. You can set a specific point in your map as the central point, and you can move that from everything to originate from there. Draw. Okay, I did skip over this one because, and I shouldn't have. Text, you can add text. Number label, you can add a number label to your stuff. Text along a curve, you can make your text follow a curved line. Like if there's a river and you want your text to follow the river, you can do that. Insert file, this is where you'll import. I'll be using that a lot when I do the how to use Campaign Cartographer as a virtual tabletop series coming up later. Path. Drawing a path. Guess what? We're about to get into that. Polygon, circle, arc, lines. All of these are draw tools. I click on this. I do this. I have a circle. Now, that's why I didn't do this earlier, reminding me. Everything that's in this section of custom manual draw tools will be completely dependent on your fill style, your color, your line width, and your line styles. Okay, this is pulling everything from there when it makes a program when you do your thing. Okay, so we drew a circle with that. Let's draw a polygon. So right now, based on what we have, we're just going to do a. Here you can go irregular, regular, box, fractal, cubic, parabolic. It helps you. The draw polygons method of menu from here actually gives you some good instruction, kind of a preset. You want to make a different polygon. So that one is now there, right? So let's go with fill styles. What if I wanted to draw a solid object? Oh man, why did it take that? Because I used to draw tool like a dummy. My bad. Okay. So your draw menu up here coincides with what we're about to get into next. I did show you the hex or square overlaid, selecting points, symbols along. You can symbols catalogs, symbol scale location. There's a lot of different. This is for the world mapping to an extent. We'll get into that when we start getting to the area map. This is all just what do the buttons do. Okay. Okay, we're gonna stop on the draw now because we're over here on the right side. We've made our way from noon to 1 o'clock. You can use these keys to zoom in, zoom out, center your view, redraw, which will make everything at redraw. It's not just a clever name. Real quick, just a bit of a rewind. This is another reason where sheets and effects is a very important thing. Hopefully you're seeing this. When Campaign Cartographer draws, when you're sitting here making your map, everything's going in the right spot, everything's going to the sheet it's supposed to, the layer it's supposed to, everything's looking cool. What you're not seeing is when Campaign Cartographer draws, it draws everything according to the sheet and effect list. And it starts at the top of the list as the first item drawn, and then it goes all the way down to the bottom of the list for the last item drawn. So basically, it's stacking each sheet upon itself. Any of the effects that are there are drawn through. So that's why the sheets and effects are important. It's not the layers, it's the sheets. Okay? So, we understand the sheets, we understand the color, we understand the line width, we understand the layers, we understand the line style, we understand the fill style. Okay? We've done redraw. We've done zoom, bring to front, bring to back. I'm going to be honest, I suck with these commands, but it is a set of commands that you can use. Say like if you have two objects, two trees, and you want the bigger tree above the smaller tree, you can use that rather than redrawing how you place them. I do it manually because those are really super finicky commands for me. I don't know why. Some people work them really great. I keep screwing them up. Point being, there's other ways to do what those 4 buttons are there for. But yes, you can change the order in the drawing, not the sheet, but the drawing that those objects appear on each other. Okay, you can bring them front, put them behind, put blah, blah, blah. Okay. So when we were over here looking at draw, guess what? All of these are built-in drawing tools for us to use. You have line. We've already demonstrated that one. Okay, it goes point to point to point. If you don't want to use, once you're done, you put enter. We have rectangles. We have just scribble. Oops. Okay. We have circles. We have curves from point A to point B. Irregular line, pop. We have curved line drawing tools. Okay. We can draw smooth objects. I'm going to delete some of these because my stuff's getting really crowded here. It looks starting to look like a paint program. But guess what? You got stuff built into your freaking drafting that you can do this stuff with. Multiple-sided polygon, fractal. Okay, so I think this is a fractal line actually. And if you use your arrow keys, you can actually change the depth of the fractalization. Okay. Oh, I think that's what broke that. Oh, shit. So if you're streaming, you don't want to do arrow keys because that ends up messing up your, there we go. That's going to end up messing up your overlays. So don't hit your arrow keys while you're streaming. Good to know for next time. Hey, I'm teaching you guys stuff and I'm learning stuff about how not to break your Twitch in OBS. All right, so we've gone through the draw tools. Once again, you can create any shapes, any objects, any lines, any patterns that you want using these tools. This becomes a paint program, a drawing program using these tools. combining the draw tools with your line width, with your line styles, with your fill styles, you can get some really cool stuff. Okay. 1, 2, 3s, multi-layering, text, how to add text. Okay, tiny little bitty text. What if I don't want to adjust my text constantly? I have a given size that I want to use for everything. I'm going to be consistent. Well, you can set your properties here. When you set your height, that's in map units. So when I put it at 4.5, the next thing I type will be 4.5 feet tall. Okay. Text properties. Now, these are commands that I do not use. They are in line with your custom drawing tools. These are line and point modifiers. So I think if I'm like drawing a, let's find out. And I want to add a midpoint. Oh, didn't do right. But yeah, these commands, like I said, I don't use them because I use the basic draw tools that are presented in the software. But if you know your way around a paint program, if you know your way around a CAD program, these are super fine, detailed ways to add points, to trim off stuff, to make, to select an actual automatically select a midpoint in your line, and add that as an anchor and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to tell you what they do, but I don't use them, so I'm not going to try to demo them because they'll suck. Okay. So we've made it across the top. We've made it across 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Now we're about down to about 4 o'clock. You've only got a couple buttons down here. Okay. Locked, attach, snap, ortho, grid. Okay. Locks everything, unlocks everything. Attach, snap, ortho, grid. We're going to start with all these off. Grid will apply the drawing grid to your map in regards to if you can see those tiny little bitty dots everywhere. Okay, those are just mathematical reference points, but they also are anchor points for the snap system in the software. So when you use grid, whether you draw one or not, you can still use a grid for snapping. You right click on grid, you go into here, you can select the grid name, which tells you where the snap's at, 5 grid, 5 snap. So that's basically putting a snap point at every square foot on the map, which hell yeah, we're gonna go with that. Make sure your cursor snap is on. Okay. And you really can't see it, so let's go ahead and draw. You know what? I drew it earlier. Let's unhide the grid. So what does so we've got our grid up. Orthopedic. I don't use that. It messes with my snap ability. The next thing is snap. What is snap? Snap is the thing that helps you align objects to each other or align objects to a particular point. So if you see me moving this barrel around, you notice it's moving kind of slow and janky because it's finding a snap point to align to as I move it. Likewise, when I rotate it, it rotates to a specific snap point. If I turn off snap, I rotate nice and smooth. I move the barrel wherever I want. Okay. You don't necessarily need snap unless you're trying to line stuff up specifically against walls, things like that, or if you started one wall and end the wall, start another one. Helps to have those kind of things attached to the snap tools, okay? So we're down to the 6 o'clock point, and this is something that I'm going to tell you straight up, I know nothing about. Okay, the command line. At the bottom, there's this big old open thing, and as you click on objects, you'll notice the command catalog changes. The command prompts change what they're saying. Okay, so if you're just interested in it, as you draw, you can kind of see what the command is to do this. I have no idea how to do it, but hypothetically, if you know the command prompts, you can type all of that crap in here and boop, it appears on your screen. That's level of math and typey programming that I'm not interested in. I'm just an old dude trying to make some fun maps, right? But that's what the command prompt's for. Tome of Ultimate Mapping will give you some cool little command prompt shortcuts that will help you out, I think. I typically don't use them, but they're there. Okay. So we're going to move along. I want to make sure my windows are still popping up good. Okay, good. I had that incident with the arrow keys. Note to self, don't use arrows for fractals. Alas, we're going to go ahead and bring ourselves back around to the end of the session and the end of the draw tools. These are what I use when I draw. Default room, default hallways, walls, floors, water, default cave, default outdoor. What are blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting there talking crap. I can show you what each of them do. So we're going to delete all that crap. We're going to hit default room. This gives me two settings that have built into SS4 to draw a room. Okay. One. Oh, my snaps are on. Yeah, it's nice and quick. 2, 3. This is where 5 snaps sucks because when the shoe zoomed in are very. All right. So boom. I use that. I have the wall. I have the floor and the wall. Whatever was set to default automatically pops up. This is for fun. Let's show you that the sheet effects were programmed with that. As soon as you hit sheet effects, you get a bevel on the wall, and you get a slight glow on the floor. Personally, I like to add shadow to the wall. Turn off one of the glows. Completely customized. One thing that I want to point out to CC3 users. The wall corners will always suck if you end on a corner. Okay, if I draw like so, you see how nice and clean those wall corners are. So let's go ahead and draw the same thing and end in a corner, which I did up there. You can now see corner nice, corner nice, corner nice, corner ugly. I don't know how to fix it other than do not end your walls in a corner, okay? You know you have a corner coming up, if you know the shape of your room, start your drawing on a flat run. That way, when it pops, you have clean, great, nice, smooth corners and all that. Just that's one of those. You'll be so disappointed to draw this wonderful, cool thing and realize every one of your corners looks like gross because you didn't know that until you started. So make sure that your corners are not your endpoints for your walls in your buildings. Anyway, so that's floors. I also demonstrated walls in the same movement. What do? If you left click on it, it's going to come up to whatever wall you last had selected. Okay, in this case, it's a stone wall. If you right click on it, you can then change your wall to something else. Width to sand, that's a custom wall. Don't worry about it. So that's done. If I left click on it again to continue drawing, because I switched, it goes back to the saved wall. Okay, your default wall right here. Now, you can change your default wall. Not getting into super details right now, but you can change it, okay? Just like with floor. There's a default floor, which is the cobblestone, and then you want to pick whichever other floor you want. Left click on the tool button brings up the default draw tool ready to go. Right click on the tool button, and then you select the category that you want. Excuse me, yeah, the symbol, the style that you want, bitmap. We're doing a draw tool. It would be a bitmap. My apologies. And boom. Okay. Water, same thing. If you left click on it, it's going to give you its default water, whatever that is. If you right click on it, you can select the color that you want, the style that you want. Left click is the program's default. Right click brings you to the menu to pick what you want. Okay. That applies to everything except for this one here. Okay. This is your complete selection of drawing tools. Everything that has been assigned to a sheet, effects, and a style, a sheet, an effect, and a layer. In this SS4, you can find the drawing tool here. Okay. All in one selection, and this honestly, this is what I use the single most. I'm just used to it. It's not the fastest until you get used to it because you're going through everything. But that is a nice place to click to see what is everything that is set up for me to draw with in this style. And also, if you make custom changes later, you might see some of the weird stuff appearing here and there because I have made some custom draw tools. Not worried about that right now. This one over here, symbol catalog setting. Oops. You left click on that. If you guys remember the symbol catalog setting up in the menu, same thing. Same thing. Symbol style toggle. That goes between if there is an option in your set to go with a hand-drawn or an alternate art style, that's what you click to get to that, okay? I personally, oh, dude, we dropped into SS4 there, didn't we? The cottages. I don't want that. Oh, I'm not going into here. That'll end up teaching you guys some stuff that you don't want. We're just going to go ahead and go back to, oh, wow, it defaulted me to Forlorn Cottage as the alternate style. So you just go back through your toggle and it brings back what you want or what you're working on. Display speed settings. If you have, I think if you have issues with your machines or any of that, you can tweak your display stuff here to make it a little more hardware friendly. Sheets and effects. Guess what? Take you over to the top side, sheet and effect. Same thing. Doesn't do anything, just a different access point. Undo. Undoes. Extract property. So we're going to play with this, and I click on it, and you don't really see anything. You actually really have to be super careful about clicking on your thing. And then up here, it's going to show you fill style, line style, what layer, what sheet is it assigned to. Those are the only properties. The only property this program cares about. What sheet's it assigned to? What layer is it assigned to? What's its fill style? Okay, and if it's a custom, then it cares about its color and its lined width and etc. So when you're trying to figure out, I'm going to throw a chair on here just so I can change stuff up a little bit. So it's on symbols, background, floor, blah, blah, blah right now. Okay, so let's figure out where this chair went. We're going to go to extract properties. Oops. And this is another one of those finickies where you got to be really good about getting right onto your thing. But you notice if, again, watch the top right part of it. As I click on the chair, it tells me the chair is on symbols, background, floor one. These don't apply to it over there. If I click on this wall, changes it to wall. If I click on this floor, and you always want to click on the edge of your object. Okay? That's going to tell you where your thing is. What's that necessary for? Sometimes you'll find yourself in a map and you're drawing and you realize you put a bunch of stuff on the wrong layer. You can use this to find out where it's at and move it around. Delete or erase, self-explanatory. This is one of my favorite buttons in the whole wide world. Change property. Okay? You click on this, you click on an object, you hit do it, and then you get to change all of its properties. So I'm just going to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. Okay? Quick demo. Change properties, we're taking that brick stone we used earlier. I don't like that brick stone. I want a different kind of stone. I want some tile. And I don't want it on my background. I want it on the floor. You know what? I want to make it into a big object and have a shadow. I want it to be an altar now. Okay? So it went from being a flat gray piece of junk on the floor to an elevated tile with a shadow just by changing its properties. This is one of my favorite commands when you start learning how to use it. You can back yourself out of a lot of mistakes. You can make a lot of quick modifications. You can find a lot of cool things just to play with. Get used to your change. I'm used to my change properties key. Outside of drawing, that's one of the ones I use the most. Now move, rotate is self-explanatory. Move, scale, rotate. You select an object, you hit do it. You can move, scale, rotate. Now, we just made this object different. What happens when we move, scale, rotate? Nothing, because the sheet effects are determining that it is still, in fact, an oversized large thing. Okay. Copy. I like my invention so much, I want another one. That's what copy does. Rotate. I would prefer to use shift, but you know what? Let's just play with it because we're playing with buttons. Each time you move it, it now rotates freely. Okay, you can select the object, hit do it, and rotate, and it will rotate. And scaling is going to be the same thing. We're going to click the object. We're going to do it. Mouse up to roll, use your mouse up to big, down to small, etc., etc. All right. Explode. Let's see what explode does. Took it away because there's only one object. It tries to break it into simpler objects, but if it's just one, it's going to delete it. Fractalize. Okay. So what that did was taken that one wall and added a small fractal effect to it. So if you are in essence wanting to make non-straights or take a straight and turn it into a fractal, that's how you do it. Node edit. You can move a point within your and actually move that node to some other point. And what did that do? That changed the curve. Okay. So if we move it out to here, it actually changes. So you can using node edit, you can change the wave of your fractals. You can change the line of your curve, all of that from a pre-drawn object just by using those. It's kind of nice to have. Edit properties. That's for a particular. That's the same thing as what we had before. Insert node. You want to add another spot. Okay. So we've added a. We're going to add another node here. So using edit node, we've lengthened our line, insert node. We've added another bump. We've made our lines longer. So you can kind of use these to change shapes that you've already drawn already. Trim to entity. If you drew something that was overly long, let's just do it. Default wall. Oh, that went too far. Let's try trim to entity. Let's see what happens. Select entity to trim to. And select entity to trim. Enter. Took the wrong part off. I should have selected this part to keep it. But you go over a line, you can use your trim effect to clean it out without having to do a bunch of other deleting and stuff. As long as it's two separate things. If you drew a T-shaped line, it's not going to work as well. You have to use your moving nodes thing. Break. We're gonna break an edge here. And it takes the whole object away because now it makes it hollow, but it breaks a wall into it. This is kind of a technical thing because I drew a whole object. When I go to break it, it breaks the object apart. So we're going to undo that. We're going to demonstrate break on a wall. Come on, work with me. Select an edge to gap. We're going to do it here. Break it start point there. Break it end point there. Boom. So you can cut your own hole in your wall, whether you need a door, window, whatever, with the break point. And split. If you need to actually split the object, you do the same thing. What does this one do? Trim. Just for cleaning a little bit of stuff. All right. So, man, we've made it around the outside of the perimeter and have clicked on every button in CC3 at least once. And that was my goal, was for this session, for this episode, just to simply, what do these buttons do? Now, most of the buttons are redundant. That's not a bad thing. Like I said, it's a super powerful program, and I think rather than giving you redundant commands, it gives you different opportunities to maximize your efficiency in workflow. If you're a spatial algebraic coordinate programmer, and you know the commands, you could probably draw everything by typing into that stupid command line. Probably. I'm not going to swear by it. If you're just all about hand drawing everything, you've got the options on the right to draw all of your own lines, all of your own objects, all of your own shapes, and then go through using the change properties ability. You're able to change the textures into the bitmaps that you want, the colors that you want, all of that. You have your top program, file, edit, view, draw, tools, symbols, dungeons, and info and help, which are simply top menu shortcuts that will get you to everything else that you saw. Those are all duplicated by your next line of commands. Next, new, open, save, print, all of those kind of things are there. So these two menus are basically redundant in each other. The menu on the far right and the far left are kind of redundant on each other. The number one thing to keep in mind is your draw styles, your default cave, your outdoor, your floor, your wall. Those are going to be specific to the style that you select or the style that you own. Okay, the button's going to do the same no matter what project. And let's take a step back. Whether you're CC3 making an outdoor map, whether you're doing CD3 doing a small village or a gigantic metropolis, whether you're using DD3 or SS4, any of the symbol sets for dungeons, the buttons do the same. All the buttons work the same. All the commands work the same. Once you get comfortable within one of the modules, I'm leaving perspectives out. Kiss my butt. I'm not good at geometry. But the rest of them, the 2D mapping programs, they're all very, very similar. The interfaces work similar. The basic theory behind each of these works similar. So pick one that you like. If you're into the dungeons and you've got a Pathfinder or a D&D or a Cyberpunk battle group, something going on, and you need to crank out some battle maps, get in your DD3 SS4, your dungeon designer set. Even if it's SS2, learn how to use it. Get used to the commands there, because once you get used to it, just the basic program with the amount of stuff you can import, with the ability to redraft literally any bitmap into your own custom drawing tool, with the ability to import any PNG transparent art asset back into an object to add to your map. Dude, it's so worth it. You know, get used, do the hard work. And then the stuff that you can build with this thing is astounding. You can obviously go through and learn hard way. I did that, and it would be like, play with it for a month. I hate this software. I'm gonna go play with Incarnate. It does what I want, even though it never really did what I wanted. It did close to what I wanted. CC3 does what I want because I can make it do what I want, because I've spent the time to learn how to do it. And for the rest of y'all out there, if you're listening to this episode 2 of Campaign Cartographer 3 Ultra Basics tutorial, you can make this software do what you want. It's completely, it's there. It's just learning how to work it, spending time. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make something ugly. Don't be afraid just to open it up and say, I'm not drawing for any purpose other than just to learn this software a little bit. Once you start doing that, you take the pressure off of, oh man, this map doesn't look right. Oh, this map isn't going to be ready. I've got to learn how to use this so I can build this map for this particular. No. Learn the software. If you need a map tonight and you just picked up Campaign Cartographer, go download one off of someone's Etsy. I'm just kidding. You could probably, honestly, if you have a couple hours and you're slow and patient, you could definitely put together a nice, simple forest battle map, a cave, a town. Because I'm sitting here talking all this smack, but it's not the hardest software in the world. It's harder. It's more challenging than Incarnate. It's a little bit more challenging than Dungeon Draft. More your third-party provided, subscription-based, easy-to-use software. That's what they're providing. So it should be easy to use, but it's nowhere near as robust as CC3. But I was hoping to do this in about a half hour. I've been going for about an hour now. So I'm going to go ahead and end my stream now, end my video now. If you've been watching me on Twitch, thank you so much. I'm surprised that you caught me in the middle of the morning on a Tuesday, but I appreciate you being here. If you're catching me on YouTube, I hope this video was helpful to you. I will be continuing in the super basic series of Campaign Cartographer, just kind of exploring stuff as we go. Hope to be posting to a couple videos a week at the very least. So like the video if you did. Leave me some comments if there's something that you're wanting. If you're a CC3 user and I messed anything up, bump in the comments, let people know, because this is all about helping everyone else, helping each other learn how to use software. helping each other get a little bit more proficient with the use of Campaign Cartographer 3 and its suite of stuff. But hey, this is DMGeezerjim. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. Every one of us has only got so much of it, and thank you for letting me have some of it. Like, follow, subscribe my channel. We hope to catch you guys next time. Thank you.